very different. I'm going to tell you from that of a medical science expert, because when I was practicing, my interest was that of a scientist. That means I look at evidence. You heard of the term placebo effect? It's very powerful. One of the first studies on placebo effect were people who were told that they have liver cancer. And for years they improved dramatically because psychology, positive thoughts can create changes in your body and it can be healing. That's why one of the reasons why cancer patients die faster if they don't change their mindset is because of this. When you're negative, all the bad chemicals start to come. So I'm very concerned that this is not a placebo effect. This is what the Chinese call hao xiao. You know the term? It means all bullshit. So I'm convinced it's not, and I tell you why. I have experience with this technology as far back as 8-9 years ago when I played with the instrument, something similar to this. But and we basically work with cancer patients. So you can see that I have quite some experience and knowledge as this. So what do you mean of this statement? If there is a way to heat the bones, then all disease can be cured. Is this true? How many of you use heat when you have problems with your health?
TCM, Chinese doctors.
TCM do. I think all of us do. Even Western doctors, physiotherapists tell you that warm pads and ice pads, different uses. So it is definitely true that heat can do a lot of things to our body. And in fact, the reason why we are warm-blooded is because heat is synonymous with energy. Heat is a form of energy, if you remember your O-level physics, right? So the future medicine is a medicine of frequencies. Again, what do you understand by this? Do you know? Huh?
Electromagnetic.
No, not just electromagnetic. Do you know that everything has a frequency? The opera singer can crack the glass. Soldiers marching across the bridge, if they're in synchrony with the frequency of the bridge can collapse. And if you look at YouTube, you just frequency and healing, you find a lot of people have experiments with a lot of frequencies. And that's because frequency does heal. Music therapy is frequency, isn't it? And I can tell you that NUH is doing a lot of studies with the elderly using music therapy, using Qigong therapy, all kinds of therapy. So certainly this is the thing. So one of the top 10 most advanced technology in the world. This was set about 2014, 2015. Okay? Why is the top 10? I will explain later on. Because this is the this technology is in health, which is what I mean in science, military, agriculture, and communication. I'll tell you more as we go along. So this is what is Terahertz is. Do we have a pointer? No, never mind. On the TV, the laser pointer won't work. So terahertz is between microwave and infrared. These are radio waves. Huh? So this is studied as electronics. On this side is sound, study of sound. This is human vision, is this narrow band here. Okay? So we have infrared, ultraviolet. And you know ultraviolet is harmful, right? You know that. What about infrared? Infrared is very useful. Huh? We use infrared to see in the dark. And you can use infrared cameras to see things that you ordinarily cannot see. And infrared, there are actually 3 bands: near infrared, mid infrared, and far infrared. Technically speaking, terahertz waves are part of far infrared. There's a big difference between far infrared and near infrared. Near infrared, the traditional infrared, you can see. The infrared line you can see is reddish, right? Far infrared you cannot see, and that's one of the indications of it. But you can detect it with the proper sensors. And I'll tell you more about infrared. And because it is between microwave and infrared, it has the properties of infrared. It has the properties of microwave. So if you want to understand, this is what it means. Okay? So, there's something I want to say about terahertz. Never mind, yeah, it will come back later because I will come to it again. So the terahertz wave is from 30 micrometers to 3000. It's actually quite wide. Later when I talk about the frequency of the cell, I'll explain to you. This is a very wide. It's from very low to very high frequencies of terahertz waves. Now this one is something that I come up with. The properties of terahertz waves that are important to our biology. One, it is very low energy, so it doesn't damage your cells. Of course, higher frequencies nearer the infrared side, okay, after a considerable time it can cause some damage, but otherwise it does not damage, and it penetrates through materials. You put a terahertz emitter waves inside, door close, everything with all the bearing with it, you can pick it up in the next room. It can penetrate through dielectric. Dielectrics are insulators. Anything that insulate, it will not penetrate. But it is absorbed by polar compounds, including water. Polar compounds are conductors of electricity, and this is a very important property of terahertz waves. And the energy corresponds to hydrogen bonds and van der Waals forces. You see, if you study physical chemistry, you know that atoms and molecules form bonds, right? They get combined, join up together. The bond is very strong, the force is very strong. Imagine the atomic or nuclear bomb. It needs a lot of energy to break up the bonds. And when you break up the bonds, a lot of energy is produced. Why? Because the energy is within the bond. So you can imagine how powerful this energy are. But there are also weak bonds. And the important bonds are hydrogen bonds. Hydrogen bonds sometimes get stuck together with a very weak bond. So are those van der Waals forces. Van der Waals forces are very important as far as water is concerned. Water molecules are held together by van der Waals forces. So water molecules actually are in sheets, in layers, okay? They're held together as a cluster. That's why water is viscous. Water is viscous in the sense that when you pour water out, you find that water is still stuck together, right? Because of its viscosity. And when water is stuck together, it's due to the van der Waals forces. So what terahertz waves is able to do is to break it up. And of course, alkaline water, they say, is able to make your water into smaller clusters, so it can penetrate. So it's actually not alkaline in the sense that it's alkaline. It's alkaline in the sense that it lacks the protons and a lot of electrons. It replaces a proton, and these electrons actually neutralize the van der Waals forces.
It's more or less like a bioavailability for easy digestion.
It's supposed to be bioavailable. That's what people say. And there are some indications from what people say to suggest that it benefits. Okay? But how long it lasts? Terahertz waves last in milliseconds. So it may not last very long. Okay? So to persist, it requires more energy to keep it in that level. So it also depends on what kind of energy you put in. It's absorbed differently by various biological tissues. Now, you are 70% water. Some tissue of yours have more water than others. So because of that, it's absorbed terahertz wave differently. And so when you shine on it, what happens? When you expose it to terahertz waves, you find that different tissues will absorb differently. And this difference can be seen, actually can be seen if you have the correct sensors. Okay? So, because of this, they manifest a property called Rayleigh scattering. Now, when you shine a light on anything, the light scatter, right? And you can take a photo, you can do whatever. So that's what happened with terahertz wave when you shine it at the body. And that's what happened nowadays at airports. Security scans, they shine the terahertz wave and they can see all kinds of objects, including objects not picked up by traditional scans. Because it's that powerful, it can pick up. And that is a very important property. And some of the medical effects are due to this property. So, we say that everything has a frequency. Our cells also have a frequency. Okay? You all have heard stories of how Qigong is able to heal, right? You have Qi or energy in your body that Qigong talks about. All you need to do is slightly bend your knee and you hold your hand facing each other, you can feel the energy. It is real. So that's why there's a lot of things going on in what they call energy medicine. So this energy, this resonance can be picked up by terahertz waves. Okay? And of course, it's not just the Chinese who found it, but the Indians call it chakra, and different cultures call it by a different name, isn't it? So, because it resonates, because the frequency of terahertz frequency and the cell frequency is about the same, the cell frequency occupies the lower frequency around there. So that it can vibrate in sequence, and therefore there will be effects due to this property. Our terahertz machine has a history. This was as early as 2015, thereabouts, May 2015. The earliest cost so much. Those were the early days. I was playing with one, it was quite a big machine, a huge computer thing. Cost $200,000. So that's how expensive it can be. The latest is this. So our Terahertz make use of optical quartz technology. That means quartz crystal. You shine ultraviolet ray on it, and then it's split in such a way that you produce terahertz waves. There are many ways of producing it. The technique of doing it is another branch of study by itself. How to get it to the range that you want is a matter of the amount of energy and a lot of regulatory processes going on. Okay, so that's to do with engineering. I'm not an engineer, so I'm not qualified to speak on that. So I'm going to speak on the medical aspect. Medical aspect, there are two aspects. One is for detection of diseases, what they call scanning diagnostic. So a lot of places now use this to scan your body to detect illnesses, especially cancers. It's non-invasive and it can pick up cancers. I'm focusing mostly on the therapeutic aspect. If you look at the medical literature, if you have the means to do so, you find that most of the research was on the diagnostic aspect. They use this for diagnostic. And it's very, very powerful indeed. But I'm focusing on the therapy aspect, how it can be used to heal, because that's what this product is for, right? And it does activate and repair cells, it clears the meridians, it detoxifies the lymphatic system, remove auto-retention, these three properties are similar. They kind of open up channels and allow whatever it is to flow through. The same with the blood microcirculation, which I will talk about. So these are various means of achieving the same end. Acupuncture can do that. If you have done acupuncture, you know what is it like. Massage is another way of stimulating the circulation. It can be very effective. Cupping, Gua Sha are techniques that I don't have much experience of. So the important thing about Terahertz in producing terahertz wave is that it is safe, it penetrates. It penetrates because of insulators. Many aspects of your body don't exactly conduct electricity, like bones for instance. So it can penetrate right through. And is able to identify, activate. And most of all, is user-friendly. You don't need to be trained to do it, you just be shown how to blow it and it works for you. So these are all the certification of China. By the way, China is one of the centers for regenerative medicine. You know what's regenerative medicine? Anti-aging medicine. Anti-aging medicine has two aspects. One is repair, the other is regenerate. And terahertz waves are able to do that. And China is one of the leading centers. Russia and Europe and parts of America also are in the forefront of this field. The machine I was using 8-9 years ago was from Eastern Europe, Russia, that part. So that's where it is. So the terahertz waves is able to penetrate because of the fact that it is not absorbed unless it's by water. So unless the water content is very high, you will penetrate deep right through. It is also, the penetration is also proportional to the frequency. So the higher the frequency, the less penetrating it is. So by the time the frequency go higher and higher until you reach infrared, it doesn't penetrate anymore. So that's why it's important to realize that. And that's why this machine, a lot of research is going into this machine. Okay? Identification. So it can identify normal cells or abnormal cells. From cells of your body, from stranger cells like viruses, bacteria and so forth. And it can expel liquefied cell. Later on I have some notes on it. Cells that are abnormal, it kills them. It causes the cell to self-destruct. It's called a process called apoptosis. Okay? And the effect, if there are vessels usually have liquid, isn't it? Blood, lymphatic fluid or whatever. So lymphatic fluid, blood and all that absorb the energy of the terahertz waves. And when they absorb the energy, there will be a slight raise, very slight raise in temperature, less than 1 degree. And because of that rise in temperature, it opens up. And that's why it unblocks a lot of your channels. Okay? So this is what it's able to do. It activates cells. So there are 3 levels of activation. Inside the cell, the proteins get activated. If you shine it on albumin, you find that the albumin, the egg white, the shape changes, the shape on the molecule changes. Okay?
Okay, but first you have to unlock your device.
Something from you.
It can also activate DNA. And it can activate cells. So cells can multiply. In fact, shining of the terahertz wave can cause cell to multiply, a process called mitosis. Okay? And of course it can activate whole organs. Glands, for instance, will secrete the hormones that are supposed to secrete when you shine on it. So this is an amazing thing, isn't it? Amazing device. You cannot come across something that's so wonderful that it can do so many things. So it is very easy to operate. Anybody can use it, and that's the beauty of it. You see. So it can eliminate unhealthy cells. Why? Because terahertz frequency is the same frequency as your normal cell, and the energy will eliminate all abnormal cells. I will show you later how terahertz waves can actually kill your cancer cells if you have cancer cells in your body through a very amazing technique. Activate inner cells. Cells, when they absorb the energy, they increase in temperature, and dormant cells, cells that are not active. As you get older, some of the cells become dormant, and if you keep on don't activating it, it may die off. No use, isn't it? So the cell will actually automatically go into self-destruct, no? As I explained to you earlier. So, when you shine this on, you find that there are changes, and that's why, you know, like for example, people have found that it makes the hair grow, no? It stimulates changes in the skin, and so forth. Self-healing. So, but because of all these things, on the effects on the DNA and all that, it stimulates your cell to grow, and therefore self-healing. And this is what we mean when I say that terahertz has an anti-aging effect. There are many anti-aging effects I will point out to you later on in the slides to follow. Okay. So the next few slides are all my own as a result of my study. They are taken from many research papers, many of whom are very recent. One paper that I just looked at was only 2 months ago. That's how recent it is. These are all very new research. And I note that a lot of this research come from China, Chinese authors, Chinese institutions, a few from Russia. Yes, there were some from Israel, from US and other places, but predominantly, bulk of it is from China, and China is in the forefront of research. And when you look at this technology is also the technology in 6G. China is in the forefront of 6G. So, and this is something I feel, because Chinese scientists have been interested in all this technology, and this thing have come on, and China has invested a lot into scientific research. So in 2017, in the US, there are patients with dementia. They did a trial, and patients improved. The most important improvement they found was in memory. Wow. For those of you who are forgetful, this is one way you can do to allow your memory to recover. And the mood improved. You find that demented patients or old people get very grumpy, right? And that's one of the effects.
So you blow on the head, is it?
Yes, you can blow on the head, but you also blow on the meridians, especially the spine. Yeah. In Tokyo, they showed that amyloid protein is broken down. Why is amyloid protein so important? Amyloid protein is a protein that causes dementia. So a lot of scientists are researching how to cure dementia. And one of the ways to do it, if you can find some way to cause the amyloid to be broken down, if you can break it, better still, prevent it from forming. How do you prevent it from forming? By blocking an enzyme called choline esterase inhibitor, ACE. When you block this inhibitor, this enzyme cholinesterase, you allow acetylcholine to accumulate, and acetylcholine will prevent your amyloid protein from being formed, right? So that's important, isn't it? So that's why a lot of people recommend you eat brain tonic. You find that a lot of them have this acetylcholine inside to prevent your dementia. But if you don't use your brain, then it's no use, because your acetylcholine simply will make your urine very rich, but your brain very poor. Okay? So there's on dementia, on stroke patients often end up with dementia because of the damage to the brain tissue. Stroke patients, they found people with acute stroke going on, blood oxygen volume increase, they regain consciousness faster, symptoms improve. Okay? So this is due to the effect of various other biochemical processes that are going on, and I'll explain to them in some of the future slides. But this is helping to understand that in the nervous system, which is very critical, we're able to do so. Next, we look on the heart. If you have seen some of the testimonies on videos, you see that some people with heart disease appear to improve. Is it real or bluff one? I will show you whether it's real or bluff. Number one, it decreases the platelets. Platelets are the reason why clot forms. And in fact, I'm a heart patient myself. I can tell you, every day I take an antiplatelet agent. An antiplatelet agent causes your blood to be very thin, cause your blood not to clot at all, and so prevent heart disease. I remember many years ago, I have a patient, an English woman who married a local Chinese. So one day she needs to go for a dental operation. And she asked me whether she can stop her antiplatelet agent. I said, well, there is a risk. I said, you should consult your cardiologist. So I don't know whether she consult her cardiologist or not. But the typical thing is I have been for my gallbladder operation and things like that. When you want to take off your antiplatelet agent, you take it off for 5 days. When you take it for 5 days, it's no longer active, your blood clot normally, you can go for your operation and nothing will happen. That means when a surgeon by mistake cuts something, your blood will clot and protect itself. With the antiplatelet agent active, CB Chang as I can
It
see.
would be like Wolverine.
No clotting. Any cut means you bleed until you die. Once
You
I
see 1 week before they tell you to stop.
5 days.
5 days.
Yes. 5 days.
The anti-agent will be like Wolverine, aspirin, all these things, right?
No. Aspirin, yes.
Yes. Aspirin and
yes.
Wolverine, all these
Heparin,
things, yeah.
Flavix, things like that. I remember once I dropped something on my toe, so heavy that my nail came out and it was bleeding very badly.
Never stop.
So they have to use pressure dressing. So after 3 days, the clotting mechanism comes back, within clot. It was able to be healed. So I imagine myself, you ride on an aeroplane, I got an accident, I can bleed to death, you know. So that's the platelets, antiplatelet agents save you from a heart attack, but it can cause you to bleed to death from unnecessary causes. So it decreases platelet clotting, decreases the platelet count, and the tendency also by acting on something called thrombocytes, which you don't need to know. The other thing is it increases nitric oxide. You may not heard of it, but I'm sure all of you have heard of Viagra. Right? You know why Viagra is important here? Viagra helps us to understand the importance of nitric oxide. One of the most important action of Viagra is to increase the amount of nitric oxide. And nitric oxide open up the blood vessels. Actually, nitric oxide is found all over your body.
Zinc. It's basically zinc, right? Zinc.
Zinc? No, nothing to do with zinc.
Nothing to do.
Zinc is supposed to be aphrodisiac. People take it. It's supposed to have some effect on it. I'm not very clear on zinc, but I'm very clear on nitric oxide. It's an enzyme called nitric oxide synthetase. But because nitric oxide can open up your vessels, do you know in diabetes they use Viagra to open up the blood vessels? In heart patients, you open up the blood vessels. And this is another action in the heart. You see? When Viagra first came out, they say, oh, heart patients cannot take. And they were afraid that something would happen. Then they say, yeah, you can take. So this is very important. In fact, one of the reasons why, one of the earliest slide that I saw, a promotional material about Terahertz, was they put down, it has a lot of effects, and the last one they put, improve erectile dysfunction. I said, hey, that's interesting. And at that time, I didn't know about all these things. But later on, as I began to understand this, I realized that this is the effect, the same effect. And in fact, the chemical Viagra was originally invented as a high blood pressure medicine, if you know the history. Then there's a decrease in inflammatory enzymes. Now there are many inflammatory enzymes and proteins, ANF, anti-nuclear factor, cytokines, if you heard of this term, interleukin 1, 2, 3, 4, alpha, all that. There are many of them. Now these inflammatory factors are very important. They save your life. If you have an infection or you have an injury, they create a inflammatory response which promotes healing, promotes recovery, and promotes your body to create a barrier between it and the outside world. So any foreign body is kind of excluded, hopefully, by your body's mechanism. But inflammatory enzymes also cause you problems. In fact, it is now believed that a lot of illnesses are due to inflammation. Heart disease, diabetes, everything, you name it, inflammation is involved. You see? Either inflammation or infection or both. So Terahertz is able to reduce this. So you find that all these things act together, increase blood flow, your heart attack resolved. That's the marvel of Terahertz waves. So at one time we couldn't study Terahertz wave because it's neither in electronics nor in under light. Now we can because of technology. How about depression? I come from a mental health background, so this is of interest to me. This paper came out about very recent. They use animal studies. Now, one way to study the effect of mental health symptoms is to look at animal models. In other words, anxiety in animal presented a certain behavior, depression certain behavior, and so forth. You want to look at mental health, let's say schizophrenia, you also use similar techniques. So these are very advanced techniques of studying mental health symptoms.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah?
Interrupt you for this. Where shall we blow the blower to? At? Where shall we blow the blower at if we want?
As for any nervous thing, nervous as in stroke, Parkinsonism and all that similar. That means head, as well as all the meridians, and the spine. Okay. So restoration of this is one of the recent paper. I think this was in January this year. Very recent. So there's decrease in anxiety behavior, decrease in depressive behavior, increase in social interaction. Right? But the authors also note that the frequency is very important. If you use the wrong frequency, it actually make it worse. So fortunately, this is well tuned. Actually, I don't know. This is a trade secret. What frequency they're using? If I know, I can tell you more. But I believe they have done a lot of research to get the right frequency. And I don't read Chinese, so I can't access Chinese papers. Maybe there are more information out there. I do not know. But a lot of their papers are published in Western journals. So that's how I know. So it has a positive effect. And certainly my brother who used iTeracare has an increase in mood, as well as improving in insomnia. More to it, some more to come. Endocrine glands. Now your body is able to have antioxidant activities. You don't need to take tablets just to have antioxidants. That's because every time you make use of oxygen, you need oxygen to be alive, right? But each time you burn an oxygen molecule, you create a reactive oxygen species, or ROS for short. Oxygen is full of energy, full of vitality. It gives you life, it makes you alive, but it also gives you ROS, which can kill you. Too much of it. So your body must have a mechanism to get rid of all these oxidants, right? And this is one enzyme that does it for you in the body. Now, if you don't have this kind of enzymes, you end up with all kinds of degenerating disease. ARS, have you heard? Nervous degenerative, amyotrophic, I forgot the full name, but it's ALS, due to lack of such enzymes. So you need all these antioxidant enzymes, and they become more potent when you shine terahertz waves on it. And of course, we already told you about nitric oxide synthetics, right? Increasing growth factors. So in your brain, everywhere in the body are growth factors. The most famous one is what is known as BDNF, or brain-derived growth factor. So these growth factors are important because they are the ones that repair, they are the ones that cause you to develop in the way you develop. When you're a child, small, growing up, right? It's the growth factors that determine. The DNA that we have is very similar to those of birds, right, and other animals. The DNA is very similar. Then how come you develop in a human being and not an animal or a bird? Because the way DNA works is that a gene is expressed in many ways. So the gene can cause you to express a finger, 6 fingers, anything. So how does the body knows? By all these growth factors. So growth factors can be switched on and switched off. So for my field, in neuropsychiatry, I can tell you, autism is what is called an epigenetic disorder. That is to say that autism is caused because some switches are not switched on and some switches are not switched off. So imagine you have a DNA that have this trajectory. You need one to switch it on, one to switch it off, right? To regulate the one that switch on and switch off, you need another 2 genes to do that. To regulate the one that is switched off, you need another 2 to do that. And over time, you have a very, very complex interlocking system regulating one another. So that's how our body works, right? So when there's an increase in growth factors, when there are more growth factors, then there are inflammatory proteins and inflammatory factors. What happens? There is growth. You see? Our body is marvelous. Increased secretion of endocrine hormones, melatonin. This is subcellular melatonin. You all heard of melatonin, right? You take it for what?
Sleeping.
Sleeping, and most likely you take it for jet lag, isn't it? Now, melatonin for sleeping is produced by a pineal gland, a small little gland in the middle of the brain, between your ears, there. But melatonin is also produced in the cell. Within the cell, there's something called mitochondria, right?
Mitochondria.
It's produced by the mitochondria. So this is called subcellular melatonin. And why is it produced there? Not to make your cells sleep. It's a very potent antioxidant. Much more potent than glutathione, which people take when they have paracetamol poisoning, isn't it? So it is very potent and it can do a lot of things. It can do this, increase your growth factor and decrease your inflammatory proteins. It can do that. So because of that, by increasing the secretion of hormones such as melatonin, which is a very powerful antioxidant, you can see the effect of terahertz waves.
Sorry,
Yeah?
how does it selectively increase secretion of
What's your question?
it generally increases secretion of endocrine
Yeah.
hormones,
Yeah,
example melatonin.
yeah. Or other hormones, thyroid,
All the endocrine
all the
secretions.
endocrine hormones.
So terahertz energy does that.
Yeah,
Does
energy.
it mean, are you saying that our blower will also do this thing?
Yes, you will. That's why you have testimonies of people saying so.
You feel good. is it?
It's not a placebo effect. Yeah. So cancer cells. Now, cancer cells absorb terahertz wave differently. So if you want to, in fact, this property is used in the diagnosis of cancer using terahertz waves. That's very important. This is accepted medical practice. This is not alternative medicine or anything. This is mainstream medicine as practice. It disrupts cancer cell proteins. It can disrupt the proteins. It can disrupt the DNA even. Now, this metallization is a mutation that causes a cell to be cancerous. And one of the most exciting discovery in recent years, these are all very recent, last few years or so, is that terahertz wave can disrupt this metal group attached to the DNA, and by demetallizing it, the cancer cell dies. Wow. Do you know, just about months ago, there is this very potent anti-cancer drug that can treat all cancers. Do you know that?
It was the news.
Huh? You heard in the news, right?
Yes, sir.
So isn't it amazing? Now we have so many techniques of actually attacking the cancer cells. So this demetallization is very important for the treatment of cancer. And certainly if you have a cancer that's not growing too fast, this is one way to do it. So what cancers have been studied? Prostate, breast, skin, lung and stomach cancers. I don't know what kind of cancers you have. Maybe yours may be affected, maybe not. But no harm trying, isn't it? Huh? If you have it. And maybe if you blow it, cancer start by one cell, then they become 2, then become 4, then become 8, become 16, 32, 64, 128, double as you go along.
What
So-
I understand is we all have cancer cells.
All of you have.
All being controlled.
But it's being controlled by your own body.
Right.
And your own body will initiate
Protective.
monocytes can destroy cancer cell when they discover it. You see? Your body can do it. But sometimes it got overwhelmed for various reasons, okay? And that's how cancer develops. Or it escapes. And it depends on the type of cancer. Some cancers actually feeds on vitamins. Do you know that some cancers feed on folate?
Ah,
Yes.
folic acid.
Yes. So you actually give folate, you actually cause the cancer to grow. You see? So cancer is not one illness, it's several illness, several types of illness. All cancers are not the same. But they have some similarities, and the similarities is a mutation caused by methylation. Okay? On osteoarthritis. Now, people have used all kind of infrared radiation for osteoarthritis. Compare with near infrared terahertz being a far infrared radiation is non-luminous, so the penetrance is higher. It can penetrate better. It's mostly used in imaging. A study some years back found that in post-op recovery, orthopedic surgery, pain is significantly reduced. It reduces pain, possibly by reducing all the inflammatory proteins, and healing is exaggerated. And I say decrease in inflammatory proteins and increase in growth factors. It has been shown that it decreases muscle spasm. So a lot of bone problems are actually musculoskeletal. Note that. My wife has a lot of orthopedic problems, and when she complained, I figured out that a lot of it is due to a reactive muscle spasm. That means your body reacts by causing a spasm of the muscle to protect your bone. Right? You must have this, because otherwise all your joints will break down very soon. If your knee joint and all your hip joints rub against one another, what happens? They will wear off. So you protect yourself by all the cartilages that you have, by the muscle that kind of act as a buffer, right? Like shock absorbers. If your car don't have shock absorbers, you know what it feels like? So that's exactly the function of muscles around bones and so forth. So by relaxing the muscle becomes more effective. Okay? It's not tight. And if you go to a massage therapist or whatever, you will find that the first thing they can notice is that your muscles are tight. And that's why sometimes there are a lot of ache and pains and all that. Huh? So that's what it does. And certainly you must also understand that in arthritis, especially in the milder form, severe arthritis, I don't know how you can, whether it will work or not. I have no experience in it, I can't tell you. But if in mild arthritis, there is osteolytic effect. There are cells that actually dissolve bones. So I believe some of the testimony of bony deformities that go away with terahertz radiation, probably due to this. There are also miscellaneous thing that we talk about. COVID-19. I got interested because last year I found a few papers on COVID therapy came out, but these were using near infrared waves that were effective in the treatment for COVID. Now this is very important, because if blowing it with infrared waves can treat it, a physiotherapist can help you to do it, you know. And certainly we have videos of people blowing with terahertz wave, which is far infrared, just as effective as near infrared. And I would believe because of the high penetrance of far infrared, terahertz wave is much more effective.
So here we can put cancer treatment center, huh?
Yeah.
You can put the title cancer treatment center over here.
We cannot say, cannot claim that.
Well,
Joking.
I think for mainstream doctors, this is still in the experimental stage. So on the skin, a very important thing is stimulate the production of collagen. How many of you gone to plastic surgeons and all that and ask for injection to inject what? Fillers, right? Collagen, right?
Yeah.
This is the effect you are looking for.
Natural.
Natural. So the effect is that it actually causes the skin to tighten. That's a beauty effect. But because most time you want this effect to be on your face, you can't blow it with bigger energy. So they recommend you the lower setting to blow. But it has this effect. See?
Basically, if I is it not the heat, right?
Not just the heat.
It's the frequency lah.
The heat is more in the blood. Yeah? Blood is mostly liquid, water, polar, conductor. That's why it absorbs. Insulators will not absorb terahertz. No? So as a,
Insulators will not absorb. What do you mean insulators?
anything that don't conduct electricity is an insulator.
They don't absorb terahertz.
They don't absorb.
Then skin,
Skin, some parts, some layers of the skin have more water than others.
then it will absorb
Anything with water will absorb.
the terahertz. So our skin need to be moist to absorb the terahertz.
You drink one
So
soda.
drink one
No,
soda.
there's already naturally water.
Yeah.
You are 70% water. Some tissue have lesser. I think.
No, some people water very little. You test more water, so no water also can less effective lah.
Less effective, but
Water.
you'll be advised
To
To
drink.
drink, yeah.
to drink and to do those things that allow your body to hydrate. You must also understand that hydration also depends on a lot of things.
Yeah,
You know, it's not just drinking so much water.
correct.
You must also be able to retain the water. Okay?
How to retain?
So it's very good for water retention. Means it help to get away lah.
Water retention is due to the fact that the fluid is not flowing. It's a different thing altogether.
Yeah.
You want the fluid to flow.
Yeah.
It stopped flowing. Terahertz wave cause the fluid to flow. You see?
Retain, capture.
So that the water retention recedes and is no longer there. But we're talking about different thing now. We're talking about the effect on the skin.
Yeah. So water is a conductor, right?
It's a conductor.
Not insulator. You say insulator.
No. Water is a if you are wet, you will touch electricity.
It's a good conductor.
It's a conductor. That's why we have terahertz water. You see? So the other thing is, you all heard of telomeres?
Yeah.
What?
You have heard, huh?
That's the tail of the
The tail,
cell, is
yeah.
it?
Tail of the
The cell,
chromosome.
the chromosome.
Telomere. Oh,
The tail of the chromosome. As you age, your telomere gets shorter and shorter and
Yeah.
shorter, and when telomere is gone, the cell dies. So, how to increase your telomeres? Fast. Those of you who are Muslim, fast
Fasting.
1 month in a year.
fast can increase telomere.
Yes, fasting can increase telomeres.
That's why intermittent fasting is good.
Intermittent fasting, fast once a day, once a week or twice a week. Skip a meal or whatever. It increases telomeres. Another way of increasing telomere is to the terahertz.
Increase
Grow.
strengthen the telomere.
Yeah. So this is what is known as the anti-aging effects of terahertz waves. Right?
But provided got water lah, moisture.
You should have water. No matter how dry you are, you still have water. Yeah. So it's to ensure that your skin become more normal by taking an adequate diet, right? Taking adequate fibers and things like that. Allow your skin to repair. Change in DNA expression, what does it mean? I explained just now that your DNA has to be switched on, right? So if it's not switched on, it's not expressed. So when you express, and that's what I noticed, that a lot of, that in some aspects, some parts of my body appear to be younger. Some secretions that I used to have in younger days are gone. Now they're coming back after I blow. Right?
So
So
come back after you. Oh, I see.
so it's the DNA expression. It switches it on. And apoptosis, as I explained just now, is when cells self-destruct. They commit suicide, so to speak, when they are damaged or of no use anymore. Okay? So these are merciless effects. So this from China, they talk about meridians, and we say just now that meridians are energy points. Okay? So terahertz is able to unblock it. And the Chinese scientists say that the effect on the stroke is like the effect on the meridian here on top of the head, which is used for the brain.
Wait,
Microcirculation. This is one thing which,
sorry, can I take back just now?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
okay, 5 seconds.
see so many people taking
Metabolism.
So this microcirculation is very important because in a lot of instances, skin and a lot of hyperpigmentation of the skin due to various illnesses are caused by problems in the microcirculation. So Terahertz is able to improve. How? Direct. Direct means the heat aspect. Because of the microcirculation, you have retention inside, right? So it retains the heat because it's a conductor. And when it retains the heat, what happens? It warms up, circulation improves. But also other things are working. Resistance is reduced. A lot of other factors also come in that I talked about in earlier slides, right? Flow is increased by nitric oxide and a lot of other inflammatory factors which are reduced. When you reduce the inflammatory factors, what happens? Inflammatory factors cause fluid retention, isn't it? As an inflammatory response. So when you reduce that, what happens? You reduce the inflammatory response. So what happens? The fluid will go away. So it's a lot of mechanisms involved. And that's how microcirculation got improved. You see? Understand? So we have mentioned this already. It regulates endocrine glands and protects our organs. So water retention is very important, especially when your heart pump. Your heart is a pump, isn't it? It pumps water throughout your body. So when you have heart failure or you have lung failure, what happens is that there is water retention. And when there is water retention, there is pain, a lot of things, and you can't walk properly because all the joints are all affected. So, Terahertz wave, as I explained in the previous slides, okay, dissolve, inflammation reduce, water disappear, and you recover.
That means you go to the toilet more often, discharge the water.
First of all, the water balance in these conditions are abnormal, you see. Fortunately, you see, if you treat a heart patient, you need to give medication to the heart, to pump. And when you pump, when water retention is improved, you need to get rid of the fluid, or else you'll be overloaded with fluid. So, heart doctors, heart specialists usually give you medicine that allow you to go and urinate as much as you can. That allows you to get rid of all the water in the body. So Terahertz wave have all these properties. It can deal with your abnormal heart. It can deal with the retention there locally, the inflammation. So it's a total treatment. Of course, if you want better effect, the medication prescribed by your cardiologist is very important because it's effective, it's chemical. This Terahertz wave can work fast, but depending on your personal situation, how often you blow and how much you blow, so it is a bit variable, you see. So, but it's a complete treatment in the sense that both in the periphery, in the water retention in the lower limbs and in the heart, it is active.
Also, drinking the charged water would also help.
Huh?
Drinking the charged water
Yeah, of course.
also help in removing excess moisture.
Not so much, but to facilitate the circulation. Okay? So, it is not suitable in acute inflammation. Acute inflammation, you got to deal with it. Certain pains, you should not deal with it. This are not.
Even pains cannot use Panadol. Lower the pains.
I would think that pain it helps her.
Correct, but why you cannot?
I don't know. This is the company's rights.
Yeah.
No, it's suitable.
But
Suitable.
it's
Suitable.
Suitable.
Suitable. In fact, for insomnia is very suitable.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So
But what is not the blockages? Is that infrared or terahertz?
blockages, there are two effects. One is the heat has an effect,
Yeah.
and the non-heat aspect when it activates chemicals and blocks certain chemicals in your body. So there are two effects there, and it's known that the effects of terahertz waves, there are two aspects to it. When you have water there, especially through the blood and so on, there's the heat aspect, but the temperature rise is very small.
You mean it caused my body to inflammate?
Very little, less than 1 degree.
Or less, very little. Despite having the thing, it still doesn't increase my temperature lah. Otherwise I go fever lah. But
No.
you sweat lah, you mean sweat lah.
No, I don't sweat when I blow. Do you?
I said,
You sweat?
Like individual.
Yeah, I don't.
so that's also
Yeah.
discharging.
Because you do
toxin.
an aircon room.
No, I don't use aircon.
Not supposed to.
Not supposed to go in aircon room.
Yeah.
Supposed to do it as
In a warm area.
Yeah.
Now there's a
Because your
recent
acupoints are open, so you should.
there is a recent paper that say that for heart implant, they found no effect. It just got reflected off.
You mean you got the implant, you do the
It's just got.
it won't have effect.
Yeah, it won't have an effect.
I thought they say even with the pacemaker, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't use it. That's right. That's the official official
Yeah.
company policy.
But implants,
But that's
paper
what
one.
the paper says. I'm just quoting the paper. Okay,
the people say it won't work.
it just got reflected off. It's just that when you shine light on something, you get reflected off.
A technical paper elsewhere.
Have you microwave a
Yeah.
metallic container?
Cannot microwave.
Cannot.
It will burn. It will fire.
No.
What container?
I'm a scientist. I tried.
I mean, but can.
Nothing happened, except that at a certain point there are sparks.
Yeah, sparks.
Sparks when there's something flammable.
Yeah.
Huh?
So
There's
you
a-
put a metal container in a microwave and you switch it on,
Yeah.
it won't get hot, no? It just remain cool.
No, you get hot.
you will get hot.
You
No,
get
no,
hot.
no food
It's
inside,
fire.
nothing.
Yeah, you get hot.
You
Still
get
get
hot.
hot.
Yes.
Yeah, you put.
Because it's a conductor.
Hmm.
It's a conductor. Like water is a conductor. Water get hot. That's the principle of microwave. But it's very safe according to research papers.
It's a
Not
heat
safe.
transfer.
Yeah, they say lah, but you know it's not safe.
How is that safe?
Because microwave burn without fire and you use.
How does it burn?
I'm not using
Aluminum foil.
Okay,
Somebody-
terahertz waves.
Ah.
Terahertz wave is next to microwave.
Yeah.
They share the properties of microwave.
Uh-huh.
It penetrate, microwave penetrate.
Radiation.
It agitate the molecules, microwave agitate the molecules. But terahertz is a very low energy. But with microwave, when you agitate the water molecules, you agitate it to such an extent that when you
It heat
agitate
it up.
the molecule happen, it's like boiling.
Yeah, boiling.
So it's an agitation.
Yeah.
It's an energy from the waves, the agitation, the frequency
Yeah,
that cause it to boil.
yeah,
You see?
Mm.
Nothing else.
yeah.
So because it's lower energy or frequency, sorry, so it doesn't have the bad effects of the microwave, it does?
So far people have microwave have been around more than 20, 30
No,
years.
there's too many papers that
Ionizes,
recommend you,
right?
you avoid.
Microwave ionizer.
No. It just agitate the water
Oh,
molecule.
this
That's
one
all.
ions
No. The ionizing is the other side of the electromagnetic spectrum. The electromagnetic X-rays and all that.
Oh, not this side.
Not
So
this side.
microwave got no ionizing.
No.
It's just agitation.
Yes.
Neither is it negative or positive. No lah, no, not polarizing.
No.
So, but then for cancer, they still say don't
Yeah,
avoid
don't take
microwave.
Yes, but so far there's no evidence.
No evidence.
You just say only lah.
They just say, I look for evidence. Huh?
There's no evidence.
So, you want to be on the safe side, stick to what is commonly believed.
Yeah.
I'm a scientist, I look for evidence.
So is it safe to eat microwave food?
Yes,
I avoid because I thought microwave food is not good, so in the normal standard
According-
form of cooking.
to that famous chef who came to Singapore and cook some thing or other, what's his name? I don't know.
Jamie Oliver.
Whatever. Angmo chef, you know,
Angmo.
famous chef, you know.
Jamie Oliver.
They say that microwave cooking is unnatural. It doesn't bring out the flavors.
yeah.
Maybe
It's
they are
true.
right.
Which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Which is
So he doesn't want the restaurants to help to get back their business to use microwave
Yeah.
because it doesn't do justice to their customers. Okay, that's his belief. But I'm a busy professional. I use microwave. At first I don't use it. I say "Hey, it's so convenient, and after reading the evidence, it's pretty safe. When I read that, oh, metal you can't use, so our scientists said, why not? So be very safe, go far away. I found nothing happens. Yeah, you get heated up. Because when terahertz hit a conductor of electricity, it releases electrons. Okay, it conducts.
It release electron. Then how about the microwave?
Microwave, it will also. Same
Release
properties,
electron.
yes. But that's about it. So unless you have a conductor next to it to draw away the electrons, then a spark can occur. The spark is because of the electron flow. You understand? Just like if you have a live wire, you do a plug, remove a spark plug and there's a live wire, there's a lot of electricity concentrated at the tip, right? You touch another metal weapon, you see a spark. That's all it does.
I read somewhere about this agitation of the molecules and will form mutation.
Mutate what?
I don't know,
The
maybe the
microwave
cells
sort
of
of convert the food into not suitable for human.
Carcinogen.
So the whole idea of microwaves is it comes from the alternative, the natural path, whereby they are quite detached from evidence base. So it's more like, good feel kind of thing.
We must see the evidence. So far, people have done experiments, they don't found no evidence. You see? Just like in terahertz, they experiment with different frequencies, and they found with certain frequencies, for prolonged time, yes, you get a little bit
Wait, what?
of damage.
Is it?
Yes.
Terahertz?
Different frequency, not the frequency that we use here.
Or other
Other frequencies.
of terahertz?
Terahertz is from 1
Big
to
range,
10 micrometer. Micrometer, yeah. So it's a very wide range. We're using a very narrow range in the lower end. You see? And I also mentioned just now, right? With regard one of the slides where I say it depends on the frequency, isn't it? And depression, the one on depressive symptoms, right? So different frequency will have different effects. So the frequency is also important. That's why terahertz wave and near infrared are different because of the frequency difference.
Near infrared is
Another
slightly
range of
In the
frequencies.
first
more or
few
less.
slides,
slightly more,
no
slightly less.
higher frequency,
Or higher frequency than terahertz.
yeah, closer to infrared, closer to the red spectrum. Infrared, I'm sure you all know, huh?
Yeah, lah, it's
There are a
higher
lot of
frequency
infrared products like infrared mattress and infrared all that
yes.
that have health benefits.
than- Yeah.
So it's different. The properties are different because of the difference in frequency. That's what you need to know. No?
So it's higher than terahertz in frequency.
Yeah. Okay. Have I made you more confused?
So if it's higher, it's also less effective than terahertz.
Huh?
Is it infrared got
Yes,
less
the body don't
effective
respond,
than
no.
terahertz?
No.
No.
Depends on what you're looking at. Different things. different considerations.
Correct. So we cannot say infrared is less effective compared to terahertz.
Infrared is very effective in physiotherapy. Physiotherapists use it a lot. Infrared recently has been, near infrared has been shown to be effective in COVID, things like that. So it's effective in getting rid of infections and all that. So there are effectiveness. My friend who used to be chairman of EDB London, he has infrared mattress which has kept him healthy for a long time. So there are health benefits. So you must look at specific things. You see, when it comes to science, we are very specific. Okay? Any other questions?
So the question is, then why we use terahertz for our and not infrared?
Oh, you missed the earlier slide to explain why. It's to do with the frequency of the cells.
So terahertz is closer to our cell frequency.
It's same
Same compared to infrared.
compared to other things.
Oh, yeah, that one I know, that one I know.
That's
the
why
reason
it
ah.
works.
That's why we use terahertz ah. Okay.
That's why the company has chosen this particular frequency for this device. It's through a lot of research. As I said, the Chinese are in the forefront of this kind of research. In so-called security, telecommunications, 6G, and in health-wise. Okay. So that's why even a lot of the papers that I quote are from China. Okay?
So these papers, this whatever research is not found in the West.
Yes, it's in the West. I can't read Chinese, so all I found is in the Western journals. But the Chinese also publish in Western journals. I have met some of my colleagues when I go for conferences. They are very good, the Chinese. They may not speak good English sometimes, especially in the past, but they are very good, that I can tell you.
So they publish in Western journals.
Yeah, they publish in Western journals, of course. Yes.
Can we get those and read for ourselves?
Yes, you can. You must know how to look for them.
Yeah, correct.
A lot of these journals are open access. That means anybody can access them, but you must know how to look for them. And you must, if Google give you a listing of few 100,000, then you must know which are more important. But if you try for some time, you get the hang of it, then you can do it. And you can also subscribe to their quite a few databases of scientific journals in every fields. If you're interested in music, I'm sure there's a database of all the music. So as far as medical science is concerned, there are databases that look at everything. So once I subscribe, I get a lot of notification. Oh, so and so has written a paper on this. So and so has written a paper on this. And it gets too boring sometimes. So I switch it off. So these are all available. They are not secret. It's not a cabal. That means only people with special knowledge can know it. Anybody with the interest and the temperament to learn about it can find out all that. Anything that I said here, you can find out for yourself. You see? Any other questions? No. Yeah.
I see.
That's about it. This one I don't use, but
Not recommended.
it's not recommended. This one I'm not very sure.
This one meaning.
The implants, my research seems to indicate that it may be, don't quote me, I'm quoting the papers, it may be safe.
Maybe depending on the type of material they use.
But don't act on the leg that is with the implant, blow the other leg, is it right? Blow on the good leg, not on the portion leg, on the metal, correct?
But the pacemaker implant is safe. It should be safe for other implants as well. That's my thinking.
Pacemaker is safe,
Yes.
because it's not metal. It's made of what?
It's metal.
It's better.
So,
I think they say blow far away from the.
If your relative has an implant and they pass away, and you want to cremate them, what do? They remove the implant. You got to inform them. It's metal.
Oh, got to remove the implant,
Yeah.
otherwise,
They can't cremate.
what?
Explode. Metal.
Oh, in the fire will explode.
Possible. Just like in a microwave, because the build-up of electricity, it can have sparks.
All these modern cremators.
So that's as far as I know.
But use the firewood, no problem.
What about the congenital heart disease?
Congenital heart
Heart
are
and disease.
structural abnormalities due
Hole in the
either
heart.
to genetic, usually a genetic defect is involved. So it's very hard
Like
to,
those born with a hole in the heart. Or
yeah,
whatever.
so they can be corrected by surgery. I know VT Joseph and Roy, whatever, the fellow who took the final MBA with me, they are pediatric surgeons, they do all this congenital heart repair. So it can be done, but if you have to repair it by surgery, that is something that Terahertz waves can't do. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, my friend he has the WAF, the thing cannot close
Yeah, they got to close it.
it doesn't close, so what
They,
remedy?
I think they have to put a patch there and they close it up.
So he has this thing, whether is it born or come later
You're
much
born
in
with it.
life? You mean born with it or doesn't come later in life? Does
There
it,
must be some defect which allows it to become.
The valve feels
Cannot
that no,
close.
Yeah.
won't close.
so either you're born with it or you come later in life, it cannot close.
Yeah, because of some defect in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, so in this case, this WAF thing, how happened? Since you
they got to repair, surgical repair.
Surgical
you got
repair.
to close it back lah.
They go to a surgeon to do
Oh,
that.
my friend did that. It's very torturing. They have to put a lot of chemical to stop the heart,
Of
and
course.
put a lot of chemical to restart the heart.
Yes.
Then after
Mm,
that,
can
he
repair,
got a lot of complicated, suffering, a lot of suffering.
Heart lung that has complications. I have seen enough heart lung surgery to know that yes, you have a mechanical heart to take the place of the heart while you do the surgery,
Yes.
and after you repair, you let the
Mm.
human heart to take
Restart.
over from the mechanical
Correct,
heart.
restart the heart.
So a lot of work involved.
Yes.
A lot of doctors are involved, cardiologists is involved,
Risk
heart
also.
surgeon is involved, anesthetists is involved, everybody is involved.
Yeah,
That's all I can tell.
yeah.
Very messy
Very,
operation.
very,
Okay, I have 2 stents. So how is it?
That's okay. I have 7 stents.
And you blow on your heart?
Yeah.
No, they say it might overheat the stent and then the stent damage the vessels.
I don't know. All I can tell you is, unless your stent was inserted when Lee Kuan Yew inserted his stent,
I see the older
The old-
original ones.
all stents after that can be absorbed. In fact, I went for a coronary arteriogram just 2 years back, cleared. They couldn't see anything because the stents have been absorbed by the heart.
Huh?
Means,
No, they have, but I
Yes.
thought they still
Absorb
use
means
some
what?
metal thing also.
No,
Is it
no, no,
choice,
no,
is it?
no, no, no.
Material is it?
The stent are absorbable. That means they use a material that
Oh.
the thing can
I
absorb.
see.
It's like just like when I was training as a doctor 40, 50 years ago, they were stitching, right? You can use silk to stitch,
Yes.
then you got to remove the stitch.
Yeah.
You can also use catgut to stitch. You don't need to remove, you can absorb by the
So
body.
it just dissolve.
so what cat is that?
Yeah, it's called catgut.
We know what?
I'm not in that engineering, biomedical engineering, so I can't tell you.
Something the body can break down.
Yes.
So what are the acute diseases?
Acute diseases, if you have an acute heart attack, this thing won't help you. Quickly go to there, get the stent or get something done. But if it's not acute, just chest pain, and say you better get your stent done, you can try. But one person in the video testimony said, the doctor say you gotta get it done.
He didn't.
He didn't. Say,
He used
how long can I survive without the surgery? He said maybe a few months. Okay, let me take a few months. And he blow. And then after that, everything cleared up.
the thing strengthened, the heart strengthened.
No, I
Yeah,
explain
yeah,
later.
yeah.
The platelets, it's to do with the platelets. Okay.
Or the blood platelets.
Yes.
Have improved.
The flow.
The blood platelets cause the clot. So if you remove it, okay, and then you need to thin out the clot. So this
The blower helps.
elimination process help.
The
Oh,
viscosity of the blood cells
Huh?
become reduced. The viscosity of the blood is minimized, being reduced, being thinner.
Yeah.
That's the whole process, how the thing process like. Now, how about valve? Instead of stent, how about valve? Valve.
Oh.
Valves. What about valves?
Yeah, there are valves.
Yeah,
You know, there are some been changed or been put a valve there. So would that be alright to blow? Because some, you know, some
You're talking about valvoplasty, is it? Where they
those
put an artificial valve. in.
artificial valve, like might be from pig or from cow, or you know the
From
plastic
animal
type,
valve.
from animal valve. Would that be alright?
Yes, you're right.
Okay. Speaking in general terms,
Yeah.
genetically, the closest to us
Pig.
are pigs. The closest to us.
That's why they use it.
Yeah. So
That's why I
this-
mentioned there's not pig or cow
Yeah,
or some,
yeah.
some
So, if there is compatibility, then it should work lah, technically. And if you stitch it, if all the muscles are attached to the right places, and now I think they have this technique to do it. Now they do microsurgery, and I was one of the first to test run this ultrasound scan where they put a sensor at the tip of the ultrasound and they put inside my heart. So with the sensor they can just see the inside of my heart as it is,
Camera.
Yeah. Amazing.
What do you call that?
It is it's some sort of ultrasound. It was in Maui. They just got the machine, and I happened to have some issues, so they did it for me. But right now, they can do a lot of things using small microcatheters,
Yes.
microsurgery they call it, and it's not a big thing now.
I think in China I read about that already, that you think have that.
Yeah.
Micro.
So maybe I should have gone to cardiology.
You are what the specialist?
Huh?
You said you are what area?
I mean mental health.
Sorry, coming back to your hypothesis, hypothesis, where your NK cell will kill the actual cells. Okay, we are made up of about 70 trillion cells in our body, the cellular cells. Now, each and every part of our tissue, from these cells become tissue, tissue next become organ, organ then become every part of our body. Like even our skin, that's not mentioned, about 28 days, the apoptosis will take place. Now, this apoptosis, the blowing thing is will helps to regenerate our cell from the stem cell itself. Now, this is part. There are three factors that contribute in the regeneration of stem cells. Number one is the when apoptosis takes place, we need ATP, correct? Androgen triphosphate, in order to help to regenerate, to give energy to these generated cells. Now, the third factor that need to be contributed is the nutrients. Are they helping out? Because the mitochondria that giving up the so-called ATP maybe helps to boost up the energy, but nutrients, where did it comes from? Does it able to blow and give up the nutrients?
You obviously read a lot. Basically, I want to point out to you that ATP is the energy molecule.
Yep, from our mitochondria that can provide
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And
Yeah, the petrol.
the actual energy
Engine,
molecule
the
is
engine.
acetyl coenzyme A,
Ah.
which actually is the thing that gives you energy for all the processes to take place. Okay, the chemical reaction is very complex. It has to do with some cycles which I can't remember now. I studied in my biochemistry days. You see, but the point about regeneration and repair, the same factors.
Yep.
Is that stem cells are involved. Okay. There's stem cells in all of us. Okay. There are enough stem cells that when you're injured, to start the process of repair. How stem cells are triggered off is very simple. Whenever the body detects there is inflammation, your stem cells start moving into action.
Correct.
Okay.
To replace that.
Yeah. So if you are adequately well nourished, you have enough building blocks, proteins, all kinds of proteins that are necessary, all kinds of things that are necessary. And then the growth factors, you must imagine that when I tell you about the inflammatory enzymes and inflammatory factors and the growth enzyme and all that, it's not one. Remember I said to you, for every DNA to switch on and off, you need at least two, one to switch on, one to switch off. For each one switch on or switch off, you need another two to switch on and switch off. So finally there are so many switches that it becomes a matrix, you see. So the body is very well regulated. It's a system, you must understand. So unless you are very badly nourished, your systems function adequately for this thing to take place. Whenever there's a repair needed. Okay, there's some things in let's say due to aging, and that's why anti-aging is so important. No? Your thyroid hormone, you have the highest and the lowest, and this is normal, right? So all of us, when we are 18, 17, or even younger, we are in the high range because we need to grow. No? As you get older, it starts to drop. You get to the lower range. Okay? When you reach to the lower range, what happens? You slow down. Huh? That's why I'm quite happy. I'm 73, I still can run up the staircase. Right? Not many people past 70 can run up the staircase, right? So you want that normal function. So how do you get a normal function? You must bring your hormone up to at least midpoint, isn't it? And that's what anti-aging medicine do. So we don't just want enough stem cells for you to repair. We want more stem cells so that you can regenerate.
But do our body have, especially when you're old, do our body have enough of those extra stem cells?
You
or
can
you just keep producing?
You keep producing. Stem cells in the brain, for example, if not used, just die off.
That's why our Terahertz is helping out to produce more
But
stem cells. Yeah.
You must use it lah.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm wearing my jacket, but if I have my jacket, I can show you. I don't have that. Huh? Why? Well, I go to the gym often. Yesterday I went to the gym, do all my weights. Do all my weights. When you do all your weights, then you keep your muscle there. When you keep your muscle there, your joints are all working properly. Not only that, but they keep you warm. It has all the benefits. You understand? So that's what's anti-aging lah. So one way is there are what they call stem cell nutrition. You take capsules to increase your stem cells. The stem cell injection. People's parks have a lot of people, or even downstairs there are people selling that. Stem cell nutrition, right? There's the stem cell injection you can buy from, some doctors are doing it. But that's about $1,000 a month. Stem cell nutrition about $300 a month. It's one-time payment, $450. You get same benefits. You can do both. You have the means, do both lah. But what I'm pointing out is this: there is a lot of technology now available. This is one of them. I can use the same technology to detect illness in you. I have the instrument for that. I can use this technology to help you recover from whatever you have and to improve your function. You pick and choose, depending on your needs. Right? I can tell you what your needs are. So that's why they say, how you blow depends on what you need. Isn't it? I can tell you is I have arthritis of my knee joints. You know how long I had my arthritis? From the time my daughter was born, 1984, until now. With so many years of arthritis, you expect me to be on a wheelchair. And the reason why I'm not on a wheelchair is because ever since I got arthritis, when I got my first acute arthritic attack, and I couldn't go to a conference in Abu Dhabi because of that, I could have cancelled the trip. I just said no.
To do something.
Jog, walk, exercise. So even though I have arthritis, I have overcome it. So it stimulates stem cell repair. You understand? Make sense? So you must see what is your needs now. If you don't have heart disease, thank God, you are wonderful.
So as long as you're alive, you have some stem cells.
Yeah.
This one can increase the stem
So
cell
it can
population.
increase. Yes, yes. That's right, you got it. Good news. So now all of us are living longer, right? What will we die of? Accidents? Things like COVID will kill you. Right?
Not the old problems. No.
Not the problems. And cancers are cancer still can appear from time to time.
But this can also do some good for cancer patients.
Yeah, this can do some good, you know.
Early.
But there are always something abnormal coming up.
When your time is up.
Yeah.
And your spare part is expired.
Okay.
Used by
But
the
don't have
Yeah.
class other things. I remember that we supposed to drink the glasses of water before so that increase the conduction of the
Yeah, because it's a
and
conductor. Yes.
also after that to discharge the toxin. So for some of these patients who are already bed bound and they are using mouth tube feeding, the control of the liquid, the water is quite straight. So how do we overcome that?
If unless the patient has heart problems, that means or kidney problems, which means that there are issues of water balance. Okay, and you need to check. I would think that from my experience in hospital medicine, that you can substitute. That means if the person is supposed to receive so many liters, you can substitute with Terahertz water before and after for whatever that is the person needs. And sometimes it's not a matter of substitution, it's a matter of record. They need to tabulate the water balance. That means you can take more or less, but make sure that it's balanced out by input versus output. So not that you cannot, but you have to record it, make sure that there's an equivalent output. That's what it means. So every case is different. You must find out why, how much, is there a limit, is there a standard, or is just a balance? If balance is very easy, give more, output more, input more, output more. Make sense? You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, because I have because I was trying to help my sister, but the doctor was saying try not to touch the water thing because the person is bed bound, so they also cannot have too much liquid.
Yeah, but as long as they can excrete, unless it's a fixed volume, they can't increase. Like kidney patients, kidney failure, you cannot take more than so many liters. It's fixed because they are afraid of water loading. You see? Then otherwise you should be able to, you see, substitute. In that case, use a substitution method. Okay?
So some people don't urine because of kidney problem.
Yeah.
So if you use this and you get the kidney to work back, then the urine will come back.
But, okay, kidney problems are many types. Okay, if the kidney function is totally gone,
Filtration.
yeah, then it's gone. This thing won't work your
Yeah.
Or it's
Acute
already
disease already.
past the.
Okay. Any other questions?
Oh, it's like ball head means you cannot recover.
You can.
Because one already is gone already.
No, as long as you have hair, you can.
The
To
follicles
improve the
give
follicle, yeah,
the
follicle
follicles
control.
give.
I mean, I've told this story many times, but I was on an anti-prostate medication that caused hair growth. So I always have a big crop of hair, like Donald Trump. Donald Trump thinks the same as him. That's why his hair grows. But also he wears a wig. Some say it's. So when they stopped this medication because my prostate increases, my hair was falling off rapidly. You can see it thinning out.
Natural.
And there was a time when I discovered this, so I started blowing it, and the hair come back. See? The hair loss start to reduce and grow more hair. So one important principle in anti-aging medicine is that organs like the hair, the blood, they regrow very fast. Because it's a fast moving tissues. The slowest is your bone and your heart. So if you recover in your bone and your heart, that is sure evidence that this thing is working. And with enough testimonies on videos to say that it works in the bone and in the heart. What else can you show to prove that this is BS, as some people say? It cannot be. You see? That's what caused me to be convinced.
But sometimes I find it a bit hard to believe, sorry, I mean in the testimony videos where they have
Yeah.
and then after a few times they can already...
Yeah, it's true. I agree with you. As a scientist, when I look at some of this, it's too good to be true. So I start to search. You see? What caused me to really search for it is when I discovered the paper on COVID. When I read the paper on COVID, I said, hey, this is exactly what we need. So I delve into it. The more I go into it, in fact, on my computer, I've collected a lot of scientific papers on this. Some are very technical, you won't understand. But they make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, in fact, my friend has got COVID. She just told me today is the second day. She says she used an infrared machine. It was very effective.
Yeah,
Helped her even with
of course.
everything.
Of course, infrared, that's right. This is far infrared. Terahertz is far infrared, but because Terahertz now has a whole new technology based on this frequency.
Oh, infrared is the bed, you have the bed, the red light, isn't it?
Yeah. When they talk infrared, they usually mean near infrared. So this is the far infrared just next to microwave. You see?
Far infrared, the other end.
The other end close next to
Closer
microwave.
to the microwave.
Then you go to microwave and you go into radio waves.
Yes.
Okay? And because we don't have the technique to study terahertz waves, that's why this was neglected. But now there's a lot of applications. If you just search any of the big areas of research done on terahertz, you'll find tons and tons of papers. Even our local university did some research on terahertz waves, but that was in communications. You see? Right? Yeah?
Carry on. Well, my question is now, suppose you're saying on bones, it's also good on bones, right? So probably the more general bone problem we have are probably our teeth, holes, tartars, and all that. So this should help also.
I don't know. I have not seen any testimonies.
Because
And-
they're basically bones.
You must understand that dentistry a lot to do with hygiene,
Right.
dental hygiene, whether
The
it's
tree
scaling
bacteria.
or and more to do with tissues like your gums and so forth, gum disease and so forth.
But this should help control the
It
infection.
should help with gum diseases.
Yes.
But cleanliness, I don't think this
Okay,
can
cleanliness
do
is
anything.
not-
So you have to look at
Yeah.
the type of feeling you have.
I mean, it will sort of slowly heal the gum, maybe regrow the bony part of the teeth.
No,
The one that's been damaged, say you got a hole or something.
no.
Kill the bacteria.
Whole where? Where is
Yeah,
the hole?
normally your teeth somewhere in the center.
Okay, that is due to
Food,
bacteria and then
bacteria.
due to a crevice or whatever,
Right.
you see. But you need to repair it. That is physical. That is not to do with biological tissue. I don't think so. It doesn't make sense to me.
But if you have a broken bone, this will not sort of help it heal.
No, we are not lizards.
Broken bone,
Depend
you
on
need
our
to set it
DNA
properly.
setting.
Right,
You need to set it properly.
right, after you set it properly, this would accelerate the healing.
The growth, you mean
Oh,
the
the growth.
Okay. When you set your bone, what happens is that your bone tissue will attract
region.
stem cells and osteocytes will come in osteoblasts will come in, and this will promote the
regenerating of
the
reconnection.
production of bone tissue to repair.
Mm.
So theoretically, it can work then
You can speed
when
it up
it's
also.
properly set.
But base must be right.
So there are many issues involved. You know, I can't give you all the
I think
answers.
for our cells or bone cells, the apoptosis take place only about 30 years for our bones to finalize the thing. But in terms of what he's mentioned, maybe the porosity will help to catch up on the porosity. It might not, because it's against our human DNA that whatever bones there disappear or broken, it be patched back and become a near bone. We are not lizards where when they remove it, it will grow back again. But in terms of the porosity itself, it might be able to, the cells will able to help to improve,
dense again, make it dense
but it
again.
won't be like, you know, you have a teeth, then by blowing it, the hole in the teeth will be able to patch back. It won't even happen that way.
Bone growth, because it's calcium is kind of an inert material.
Correct.
It must
Calcium,
be
yeah.
set properly to grow properly. Otherwise, there will be deformities.
Correct.
And you can see from some people the way their hands are deformed. You can tell what kind of fractures they have.
Right.
It's very clear. You can tell they have been set wrongly, or because that bone is angulated in a particular way as you grow. So when it gets broken, it can never be set back as the normal. So deformity tells you.
See, a young healthy person, the bone will be quite dense.
Yeah.
So
Dense?
say, dense.
Densely, more densely.
More dense.
The porosity.
Elderly person, then his bone will probably be more porous.
No.
So can be
The
sort of
porous-
Dense is opposed to porous.
Porousness is due to various hormonal factors. They cause
Aging,
osteoporosis.
Osteoporosis, yeah.
Osteoporosis. You're talking about osteoporosis. Okay, so technically this should help with osteoporosis as a preventive measure. But when it comes to calcium, I study a lot because I used to give talks on bones and joints and all that.
Mhm.
Your osteoporosis is due to many factors. One of it is the amount of calcium in your body. And milk is probably one of the worst source of calcium.
Yeah, correct.
worse.
Worst. Calcium from your food.
Not at all.
Your what do you call it, spinach and
All
all
stuff.
and
It's much better, is it?
yeah, are much
Yes.
better. Guilin Gao, the Chinese, is supposed to be good for that.
But then you say milk is bad, but when baby we drink milk,
Yes.
it's okay.
They grow.
But when now for us it's not baby, we
If you are taking milk for calcium, that's what I mean.
oh, but for babies they drink milk is for many things
Yeah, for babies is the natural
Calcium,
food
natural.
until about 2+.
Correct, so they drink milk also for calcium.
They don't
Yes.
take, they don't
But
take.
for them,
Because of
for them-
calcium lah,
for
it's
them
all
it's
the
okay to
nutrients.
drink
It's a
the
total
milk.
nutrition for the
Total
babies.
nutrition.
Then it's okay
Food.
to drink the milk.
Of course.
But now we are drinking milk for calcium.
If you drink milk for calcium,
That
it's
is
probably
wrong.
one of the worst forms
Yeah.
of calcium.
Correct. Again, it's
For
very
adult,
little.
Calcium
for
is
adult,
not-
referring to adult,
Yeah.
not referring to babies.
Yeah.
Baby up to 2 years, we say that's a complete
So for
nutrition.
baby it's okay because they need
Yeah,
less
of course,
calcium.
of course.
So for us we need more.
That's right.
We must be very careful when we take too much calcium. It's not
Yeah.
proper because our cells, when we receive nutrients from the cell itself, the receptor when it open, when you have zinc coming in or magnesium coming in, or even one, because they will take only one at a time. So once come in, the receptor will close. Whatever calcium
Goes
excess
to the blood.
will become calcification.
Yeah.
So be very
The thing is,
careful.
if you don't exercise,
Yeah,
the calcium is not absorbed into the bone.
become
It just
calcification.
passes
Remember
through.
that. It just passes through your urine.
The type of
It
calcium
becomes stones.
also.
Exercise.
It becomes stones, the calcification.
Yes.
And
Then you
Also
all
the
people
type
don't
of
exercise,
calcium.
get a lot
That's
of
why
calcium,
they find the
then
cheaper
you
ones.
So dangerous.
not
Very
much
cheaper.
and then calcium must be taken with magnesium.
Correct.
that one.
That's
And-
important.
And D also,
Or
right?
zinc also, right?
Vitamin D and
Not
Zinc is
zinc,
different.
magnesium.
People say zinc. I'm very skeptical
Oh,
about
I
zinc,
see.
but by all means, no harm.
Mm.
But then doctor, when they give you calcium, they prescribe in the polyclinic, but they don't tell you must exercise. They just say eat.
And there's a red form for calcium.
No, doctor
And calcium
tells you
content.
So,
Yeah.
So the point is,
Except Douglas.
one thing bad about Western trained doctors is that
Distract.
a pill for an ill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not enough, add too much. Minus.
Okay?
Right.
You cannot change next one.
Can I ask a
Yeah.
question? I've been using this for 2 days.
2
And
days.
after using it now, my leg is very, very big.
Your leg where?
Yang nombor telefon dia?
Your
The
knee.
body, yeah, just below the knee.
Below
Before
the
that
knee.
was pain also.
Before that, got no pain. So when I use this,
This is a healing
It's a
Yes,
blower,
it's
it's a
very-
blower.
How often do you blow it? How long do you
so
blow
I
it?
blow it for almost
Can
about
you
half an hour.
engineer?
For about half an hour.
Yes, and the pain was excruciating at night.
Excruciating. What's the pain like? Shooting pain,
just
sharp
pain.
pain.
I can't even, yeah, I can't even straighten my legs. So, but finally the next day, I can still walk lah. You know, initially the pain was quite bad, then gradually in the afternoon it disappeared. So yes, like the second day I also had exactly the same thing.
And then it heals itself. Then it
Then
goes
on
away.
the day it heals itself. Then on the third day I think it must be something with this blower. So on the third day, that is last night, I didn't use. And actually I don't experience this. So I just want to understand why is this like.
I would suggest try shorter duration.
Oh, okay. That's what they suggested to me.
Shorter duration.
Yeah.
You just blow here, and here, and here. And here.
He never teach me how to blow, he very bad.
When you blow it, you just blow. Blow
This is what they
the
call the
most
healing
important
crisis.
point.
Probably healing crisis because I don't have this, I never have this before. Only after using the blower. that-
Okay. Offhand, I can think of some joint conditions whose chemicals can cause pain,
Mhm.
like gout,
Okay.
like what other crystals can cause pain of this kind,
Mhm.
which you know it could be there's accumulation of this, you know. So if even a short duration can cause pain, you can do a scan to find out actually what is the problem with this technique, or you can go to your doctor and ask them to do a blood test for you to determine what is the matter there.
But without
Maybe do
treating,
an
there's no
X-ray.
pain. Huh? Without treating, there's no pain. Normal.
Usually there's no pain.
So
So you're inviting a pain.
no.
But
The Terahertz blower probably uncover something.
Oh, yes.
That's a
I think
Uncover
crisis
something.
like you say.
You know, it's just like if I don't exercise, I don't have any
Yeah.
problem. Then when I exercise, hey, suddenly I have this and then oh, you have this, you have that, right? Just like my friend Sincere watch one of the sons. He's a doctor. His wife also is a doctor. Before I go to the States, the wife said, I have something, I go and see a doctor. The wife go and see the doctor. Say, hey, this is unusual. Let's scan it. They scan it, they found a cancer. They do the total body scan, there's cancer everywhere.
So
And she died within 6 months.
there's cancer cells everywhere.
Everywhere in the body.
But does she have pain before that?
No. Absolutely no pain.
So you recommend.
So it can happen.
Yeah, do blood test.
I think the simplest thing is if you can walk and if you can you run?
Yeah.
Do it for 10 or 15 minutes, and if it still cause pain, get it evaluated. It can be anything.
But not
Or
generally.
it can be anything.
Just one leg. That's right. Okay,
This
I
leg,
thought-
no pain.
No problem. I understand from the maybe it's also that there are some maybe hearing effect. Some of the members also have this small issue.
It could be lah, and if it goes away, then I wouldn't bother lah. But it persists, then I think find out what it is.
Can be healing defect.
It can be anything. You see, I can think of anything offhand, but it's just speculation lah.
So you say that just now you mentioned that this blower can identify.
It can identify. It is like shining a torchlight at your tissue. You see,
Oh, okay.
so you can actually see all the things.
So it is similar to those time waver machines and stuff like that in the market.
Bioresonance.
And it's all bioresonance.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Is it like a bioresonance?
Yes.
So this one, but just using that you probably cannot identify.
This is just therapeutic device. This is for treatment. That is for diagnostic.
Oh.
Find out what is wrong with you.
Means do MRI lah, is it?
No. Cheaper than MRI. Huh? You scan the body for resonance.
The vibration.
Oh, that
The
one
vibration.
Can detect, that one can tell you what's wrong
Yes.
with you.
You can
Just
see
like-
which area of your
Which
body
machine
has
is
got.
Oh, I have the machine. Last time we used to very big. Now it's just a bag I can carry.
You want me to show some
Oh,
of
this is like a
the?
little one, they can see your body ah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You want me to show some of
From
my?
There are scans that to do with the spectacles. You put it on, you can't see anything, but sending the resonance
Show on the
in.
laptop, is it? Show
Ah,
on the,
show on my
the,
laptop.
the computer. I
Or
see.
there's one that use
Oh, that one
on your
It's
ear.
quantum, is it? Quantum something.
Many brands.
How many brand? How many brand?
There are some your hand.
Ah,
They can
palm
find
lah,
you,
what
yes.
all those.
So
I need to go. Thank you
sure,
very much.
thank you.
It has been very informative.
Yeah.
I really
Okay.
appreciate it. I'll
You
come back
do those
again.
scanning, is it?
Yeah.
You do.
I think it's elimination.
No,
How
maybe.
much do you charge this kind of scanning?
150. That's cheaper than a MRI, right?
Where's your clinic?
I don't have a clinic. I do it wherever you want. Or here, use one of the.
Roving.
Ah,
Maybe
yes.
one
You see, I
question.
did the scanning,
Ah,
so
yeah,
I took the computer. He kindly allowed me to take this like my intestine.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
which area from the symbol and the color, you will know which one that side is good.
Very good or no good?
You see the different areas lah.
Okay
The
lah.
yellow ones are good lah. The down ones coming downwards would be beginning to be, and then depending on the color. So it will just at least indicate that which areas you may have some problem, and up to you.
I've retired.
Oh, so you don't.
Tracing
I see, I see.
I don't want the cost.
Oh,
Yeah,
make
pay
one
for
lah,
that.
making down
Or before that you were practicing at the clinic lah.
But maybe one common question, right? Okay, user, right, they're happy with the device, but one of the common question they ask, right, is let's say after about 3 months, 6 months, right, and they're still using, how they know it's still working? Because they cannot see, they cannot, yeah. So what should be a good answer to provide them?
I'm looking for a good sensor to determine whether this machine is still giving out terahertz waves. It is essential because from what I read about this machine,
Yeah.
is that after some time the terahertz wave produced may not be adequate.
Yeah.
And from what I know about the science of how this is produced using a quartz crystal, is that over time this can deteriorate. No? So you may not get the same amount of terahertz waves, 6 or probably more like 12 months or 24 months down the road. So
Does the blue light indicate
The blue light-
intensity of
no, the blue light is a directional device only.
Not does it indicate anything or
Not an indication of
Ah.
terahertz. Remember what I say in the talk? Terahertz waves are non-luminal. You cannot see.
yeah.
Remember, you cannot see. But
The
with the
frequency you
sensor,
cannot
you
see.
can detect. I've been trying to look for one.
Oh.
So I don't want to buy too cheap one. Too cheap one, it may not be
Does the
accurate.
company sell, huh?
No, I'm looking for. I don't think the company has.
They should have, but they're not selling.
I think the sensors they use are quite different.
Yeah.
Industrial grade.
Correct.
But we want something that is useful and I can carry about. So
Yeah.
I'm looking around for that. I'm looking at some about 500 to 500 odd dollars,
For one.
which I think is accurate enough to detect terahertz wave.
My blower, I think I used for less than 1 year. I think 6 months or what. It just dropped. No more using. Just stop.
So if you have the one year warranty,
Yeah, I said of course still within warranty, but I'm
unless
just saying that
you
it
buy
stopped
some
by
of those
itself.
that are
No, here. But I'm just saying it just stopped by itself. One day, how come no more? Oh,
Yeah.
That means
Yeah.
about 6 months only I
One
used.
motor gone.
It just stopped by
Electrical-
itself.
Did you drop it?
they are
No,
electrical.
that one I didn't drop it, but at home,
This is
same
basically
place.
an engineering thing lah. Okay. Because it's engineering, it depends a lot on the
QC,
components.
QC test or the part of manufacturing.
QC is at the beginning,
Components.
So I don't know.
wear and tear.
Wear and tear.
Anything that you use, like
Oh,
Russia now
components.
being sanctioned, right? The aeroplanes can't be serviced and parts replaced, right?
Yeah.
So same thing lah. So this
Is it
thing.
because I use the hottest thing, because the 2 button, low and the high one, if I use the high one, it tend to spoil faster, is it?
And maybe you use non-stop. If you're using this one, you're supposed to
No
stop.
lah,
20
10
minutes.
minutes, 10 minutes only.
So I can't tell you, I'm not an expert in this area.
Because I used to talk about 10 minutes.
You write email to Tersan. Ask the professor.
Write email to the stockist and to the distributor. Maybe they can help, you know. This is not my area. My area is therapeutics.
Actually, I did raise a question because you know that it's that I also read about the Quartz, and it's like then what happened after that, you know? Or
Yeah.
after 1 year means no.
After 1 year, no warranty.
The Pro very expensive, right?
You buy another classic.
Actually, if you compare 450 and all the supplements you're taking, it's actually quite cheap.
Yeah.
And if you compare to, you go to Amazon, ask for infrared devices. Average price is $1,000 US. So to me, this is cheap.
So solution is to buy a new one.
Huh?
Solution is to buy a new one.
I'll buy a new one, 450
Yeah.
only what? 450 you multiply, divide by 365.
Pro is 4,000.
1.2 per day. One copy per day. Copy, one copy all per day.
Yeah, the one way to look at it.
Yeah.
So, no, it is, no, the true value is to compare with something equivalent. So if I don't do this, I take stem cell nutrition, how much will it cost me? It costs me at least $130 to $200 a month, depending on how much I'm taking.
Actually, this stem cell thing, does it really work?
Yeah, it does.
It does,
I have my,
like the famous Butia, that one.
I have the, no. I have my dislocation of the hips. So this time, with my previous orthopedic problem, I went for acupuncture and it marvelously recovered. So this one time round, I decided just to use stem cell. Amazing, the recovery was
The brand,
amazing.
what brand?
You mean the nutrition
Yeah,
What brand do you take?
serum?
I
Plant-based or animal-based?
plant-based.
Plant-based, don't take animal.
I took the one that Janus supplied. That is a better preparation than the
Butia.
Cerule. Cerule has a certain smell I don't like.
I've got many friends eat the Butia die already. Say very die faster.
I don't know about that.
Here,
And the
one
problem
from
the
India,
Butia are very
placenta.
smelly. You open the thing, wow, full of smell.
That's why I take that preparation because that preparation has no smell.
Smell. Then got one person, he come here to me, he eat Butia, to me he's so smelly, the body, my God, I cannot say it.
Well, that's not my problem. Okay, that's enough for now. Thank you all very much.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you. Thank you.
You got something?
I don't have a
Don't have,
card.
Can you give a number or something?
Let me see, I may have.
Oh, one take already here, plenty of ration. Go to skin clinic. Another one, then after that, once the swelling more swollen, then the rest eat some more, eat more already.
Oh, you're very well read. I like it.
It's really not a very good thing. I find that 10% of people cannot make it. 90%
Keep in touch with me.
the 10% or 5%